This is such a big thing, Mike.
Thank you.
Come on, Jip.
Good morning, Colin.
Morning.
Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Hello and welcome to Qatar's first sports podcast, In the Game. I'm your host, Steve Mackey, and we can't wait to introduce you to everything that is sports here in Qatar and afar. We're going to be bringing you personalities, company owners, institutions, individuals that are making a real difference. So, with us, enjoy the journey. We've got a South African theme again today. I'm really privileged and honoured to have two guests with me. I'm going to start with Bradley. Bradley, you are a legend when it comes to South Africa. Here in Qatar, you're pushing everything from your perspective for your flag, which is great. And you from the Supreme Committee, and you're a bit of a legend there too. It's like you're involved in quite a few things, pushing different projects. I'm honestly your biggest fan. And we've also got Jimmy. Jimmy is brand South Africa. So we've got a great show today. So I'm going to get kicked straight in. Please, Bradley, if I start off with you first.
Sure.
Could you please tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sure. First of all, thanks to yourself, Steve, and the team for having us here today. Hopefully we can paint the town a bit green today with our Heritage Day celebrations. And then at the same time, welcome to Jimmy and his team from Brand South Africa.
Yeah.
I'll let him chat more about their role. But for us to be acknowledged by Brand South Africa is really a big one for us. On a personal note, I'm with Supreme Committee within their sponsorships department, but also I'm fortunate enough to be the Supreme Committee's South African community leader as well. Supreme Committee in 2015 rolled out their community program. South Africa was one of our about 43 or 40 nationalities that signed up with Supreme Committee to basically try and support them in terms of meeting their objectives leading up to 2022.
I've seen you before. I was always trying to get. We have a little joke that I was trying to get hold of you. You're a busy man, but now I see you all over. You're kind of. I see you at the embassy, at the South African embassy, and at different events, and you are doing fantastic things. And I'm amazed with how much you're doing and on what different levels. You say sponsorship, but you're doing much more than sponsorship.
No, look, I think from that perspective, the South African community is not as big as the rest. I think we're fortunate enough to have such an engaging embassy as well as an ambassador who's really entrenched, not just with the political side of things, but also within the community. He's made time for everybody. He makes sure that the community is involved with anything that the embassy does. And part of our Heritage Day plans for this weekend are obviously, quite important, because without the embassy, we wouldn't be able to have the event. You can't fly the flag without getting the stamp of approval by the South African embassy. So, we're really honored to have that close relationship with them. And I think for me, it's in 2010, I was there when South Africa hosted the World Cup. And I think I'm really fortunate enough to be in Qatar to be able to help them prepare for 2022. South Africa was obviously the first African country to host it, and Qatar is obviously the first Middle Eastern country to host it. So I think there's a lot of similarities between the two. And I think you wanna prove the naysayers wrong, and I think that's what we're doing. Qatar's been an amazing country to live and work in, and from a 2022 perspective, I think we're doing exceptionally well under the leadership of Hassan Al-Thawadi.
I think you're what you are doing is amazing. I've got to say, and it's not a small task. And the group of people, I'm lucky that I'm fortunate that to know quite a few people in the Supreme Committee, and what you're doing is fantastic, because you're so proactive. You're trying to think of everything, that preempt everything, and it's going so well. It was great with the logo, the branding. That was good. And you're involved with the football, the World Club Championships.
FIFA Club World Cup in end of the year. Another exciting one. Unfortunately, my team, Man United, couldn't make the cut, but Liverpool will be, and a host of other teams from around the globe. I think it's really great to see the progression that's happened. I've been here for just under 6 years now, and to be part and parcel of it, to see the stadiums that are being constructed, to see the road and the rail. The rail is amazing. We were there for Al Janoub Stadium, and the South African ambassador and the community actually took the rail to the stadium. And that again just shows you how passionate we are, not just as a footballing country, but how we really want to support Qatar and make sure that the 2022 is a success. And obviously the legacy of that is to ensure that we support Qatar through everything that they do.
Yeah. And a lot of people out there, it's a 2030 vision that we're all heading for.
Correct.
It's not just the World Cup. The World Cup is a very, very obviously it's fantastic, but it is the 2030 vision. Yeah. It's all about the 4 pillars. It's
correct.
Those are the things that are most important, and you definitely are, without a shadow of a doubt. That Supreme Committee is doing an amazing job. So your rugby, and I'm going to touch on this. I touched on the last podcast about the rugby.
Sure.
The rugby the World Cup is coming up. Come on, come on. There's going to be some good games.
It's exciting. I think we have quite a few people that don't know who will win. We're very confident that South Africa will be there. I think a very key milestone, and Brand South Africa could possibly support me on that. I think in 1995, you had Nelson Mandela, who was there with Francois Pienaar.
Yeah.
And I think this year is that extra special because you have Siya Kolisi, who's our captain for this year, also wearing the number 6 jersey. So I think that is truly something remarkable to show the transition that South Africa has actually gone through.
Yeah.
And they're all based there on merit.
Yeah.
Irrespective of anything, in my honest opinion, I think every single player deserves to be there.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just great to have Sia lead out the team at the Rugby World Cup on Saturday.
And somebody said to me, he's the first black captain for
Correct.
which is fantastic,
Correct.
right? It's going to be a great the community, the country is going to go wild on Saturday, and against New Zealand. That's going to be a special one.
Well, we can't wait to have some New Zealand fans around us when we win on Saturday. So it's a pity Carl Brown couldn't stay. We would have loved to have him. You know, he knows what it's like to beat New Zealand. I think, I'm not sure how many times, but I know he's beaten them a few times already. So to have his expertise to tell us what can happen during the game tomorrow is going to be nice. For the Heritage Day, and then Saturday Carl won't be here, but we'll keep him in our presence, and hopefully his good luck of being in Qatar will rub off on all the South Africans willing on South Africa to play on Saturday.
And what a great guy he was! One of our, he's just a super guy.
He's blown me away. You know, I've known him not in person, but I've known Carl for quite a while right now, and just listening to him speak to you earlier shows the level of professionalism, number one, and shows why he was one of the successful Sevens captains in South Africa. You know, and I think he's left a legacy. Without a doubt, people will always remember Carl Brown, the player, and I think I can honestly say Carl Brown, the person now. So
I've got to be honest. I know that when we were talking to him, I was just he's retired now, retired in May. And he's just pushing himself, you know. And it's like he's got to reinvent himself.
Correct, yeah.
He's got to reinvent himself, but he's looking at all these different challenges, which we all got.
Sure.
In Qatar, that's what we've got to do. Keep on pushing.
Sure.
So Jimmy, I'm sorry that we've left you out so far. So Jimmy, come on, tell us what you're doing here in Qatar with Brand South Africa.
Yeah, no, actually, it was good just listening to you guys talk and Brad telling the South African story. As Brand South Africa, we are a marketing agency for the state. Mm-hmm. Actually, we are a reputation and marketing agency for the country. So we are about telling the inspiring South African story.
Yeah.
And we tell it through the likes of Carl Brown, who are our heroes, actually, the brand pillars, and the likes of Brad Habana, ordinary citizens doing amazing work, representing South Africa very well in a country like Qatar, and actually showing or being exemplary citizens of who South Africa is. Yeah, that's basically what we do, telling that story.
Honestly, I was with the ambassador yesterday. I went to the Chamber of Commerce yesterday, and there was a big delegation. Yeah. And there's some pretty impressive companies that were on that delegation. You know, there was some really pharmaceutical company number 2 in South Africa. It was incredible.
Good.
It was but the thing that strikes me with South Africa here in Qatar, there are so many of you. Colin Ayling, you know.
Yes, Colin, know him quite well.
He was on the show,
yes.
and what he's doing with his bicycles and his branding, it's really good. Yeah. He keeps on saying, "Come and have a go." But it's such a community here in Qatar and it's a strong community. It's like everybody knows each other, right?
Yeah, no, we do. I think, and that's why we're very privileged to have Brand South Africa here, because we want them to know that even though Qatar is a little small country in the whole of the Middle East, we want them to know that we as South Africa are here playing our part, and I think that's one of their mottos. As much as we live and work in Qatar, I think we're also very proud of our country. Not just from an international relation perspective, but the way we work and apply ourselves in Qatar, I think, is obviously at a very high standard as well. And tomorrow we'll be acknowledging some South Africans at our culturally South African Heritage Day, where we want to recognize the South Africans actually doing great work both in the community and in their workplace.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And I've got to be honest, I've been chasing you. I hope you don't mind me saying. No. You're really busy. You're really busy. And the thing with it is, I've always been chasing because I'm a big admirer of yours.
Thank you very much,
I'm not just saying that. I really, honestly, I'm a big admirer with, and I know that we can't go into so much details, but I know that the things that you're involved in, and you are driven without a shadow of a doubt. You are driven. The amount of people that want to meet you, the amount of work that you've got to do, I don't know how you keep it up, and the work you do with the embassy too.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Stephen. It's people like you that give us a platform that can allow us to tell our story, and I appreciate that immensely. On behalf of the community brand South Africa and the embassy as well, I think we appreciate the efforts that you yourself and the team put into ensuring that we can have a platform to obviously to voice what we're doing.
Yeah, but it's really good, and it's all through sport. And again, we were talking earlier about sport and how important it is to break down these barriers. And look at Qatar. They've got so much going for them. It's like, I know that everybody looks at it and says they've got oil and gas. Okay, no problem. But what else have they got? They've got education. It's the things that they're doing with education is incredible. Not just from, we're talking about sports education too.
Correct.
The amount of things that they're doing, opening up with the sports free zone area that they're going to be opening, the sports tech. It's booming here for sports. And it's like, this isn't just for, because we could look up and say, it's about business too. It's like, what sports business? How can we get more people involved in sport? They might not be good at sport, but how can we get them involved? And that's why people like yourself, Jimmy, is kind of flying that flag. And we want to fly that flag because there's a lot of opportunity.
For sure.
Yeah, actually for us, if just to give you a history, when we were started as an organization, it was to tell the story of it's possible because of what has happened from a sporting point of view, but also from a business point of view, how South Africans are resilient and how South Africans are pushing, which Brad is an example, as you said, in terms of how South Africans are pushing and breaking boundaries. And now we have moved from just saying it's possible to saying we as South Africa, we are inspiring new ways. Hence, now you see us here from a business point of view, from a cultural point of view, and people living here in Qatar, just showing what South Africa is doing in terms of just inspiring the world and being inspired by the world at the same time.
When I first thought about it, obviously this is a sports podcast, but as I've said on numerous times, it's not just about sport. It's how we're going to back the sports players up. And normally you've got to have a business to do that, whether that's through sponsorship, whether it's through coaches, whatever it may be. There's always sometimes that the business has got to come into it, and it's just one of the part and parcel. But one of those things is making sure that, because all of these people, especially with businesses, is they go through the pain barrier too. It's like there's so many attributes that you've got to have that sportsman's got, and you've got to keep on pushing. You've got to keep on seeing where the service industry is required. And that's why the sports industry is so good.
That's true.
Yeah,
like I think on that same note, for us having the World Cup in 2010 was really, really vital, and it showed how we as a country could host international sporting events.
Yeah.
And I think the same with Qatar. From an international sporting event perspective, they really are being put on the map. I think the Qatar national football team that won the Asian Cup earlier this year,
magnificent.
That in all honesty is probably one of the greatest achievements of the team, to basically show that they're ready for the World Cup, not just from the stadiums, not just from the infrastructure, but from a playing perspective. And I think that's really, really good of them to be able to showcase that trophy leading up to the World Cup.
We had Ahmed Abbasi on the show. Incredible person, and we're both fans of his as well. But I said to him, the best word that I use is inshallah, if it's God's will.
Sure.
And it's like I saw in the matches where they were getting water bottles from, and they kept such professionalism. They just kind of, which was for me was the biggest standout.
And when isn't that Qatar as a whole?
Oh, of course.
I think Qataris in general show that patience, that calmness about everything that they do, the hospitableness about the Qatari people. It comes through in everything and every contact you have with them.
Everything. And it's like, and I keep on saying we help companies start and establish here. And the biggest tip that I give to everybody is offer your hand offer your hand of friendship. You give your hand first, because then they'll open up. Because when you're shy, all you want to do is get to the back of the class. You don't want any kind of attention. But you've got to think that's what it's like here. Just offer the hand of friendship.
Correct.
And it just everything opens up for you.
Yeah.
And it is a fantastic place. It's a fantastic place to live. And I know it's going to get really busy. But okay, that's about the business side.
Sure.
Okay, I want to just talk, if I can,
Sure, please.
about when you were doing the World Cup in South Africa. You were...
Yeah, amazing feeling. I think for us, many people said we couldn't. And I think South Africa overcame that. I mean, people were against us from the time the first whistle went. It was like, you can't host it, you're incapable. And I think from our perspective, it was really, really good to show the world that South Africa is ready to host big sporting events. Look, we did it in 1995 as well, but I think 2010 was just that much more special. And again, we brought everybody together. I think every country that participated, foreign visitors that came to the country, I think they only had great things to say about South Africa.
Yeah.
And I personally went to a few of the matches, and the camaraderie in the stadium was second to none.
Yeah.
Whether you couldn't speak English or could speak English, you were my buddy. You were sitting there and you were celebrating the fact that this was an African World Cup. So it was really, really good from a sporting perspective to have that, and I think we will definitely see that in Qatar as well.
Yeah, I'm almost positive you will.
Yeah.
We will. But the only thing that I remember the World Cup with 2010, it was a fantastic World Cup, by the way, but those horns.
The Vuvuzela. We're going to miss them. We're going to miss them in Qatar.
They were fantastic, right?
Yeah. It was a different World Cup. It was an African World Cup, as Brad said. So we are about rhythm, music and sound. So we had to represent that, and South Africans represented, and actually the world came to the party and they enjoyed that.
Okay, so Jimmy, there's a question for you now. So what did it mean to you? What were you doing at the time? I'm very old now. I'm getting on, but you must have been really young when it was there.
Not really. I was actually head of marketing for one of the fan parks. I was working for a local government entity, so already I was involved in the World Cup. So I played a part in that as a South African, as a fan, but also as an official of government, actually ensuring that every South African who was there can experience the World Cup, whether they were at the stadium or not at the stadium.
Yeah, and what did it mean for the people in South Africa? What was it like there, living there and seeing people getting inspired by this thing?
Actually, I think it meant a lot, because over time, over the past 25 years, South Africans, it was one of those occasions from 1995, hosting and winning the Rugby World Cup, 1996 winning the African Cup of Nations, and we were just, it was a young democracy. So that's one of those events, actually, a special World Cup, which was not just for South Africans, but boosted the economy, created a few jobs for people, and which is what we're trying to do as Brand South Africa, to inspire that. And beyond that, it actually unified the country from a cultural point of view, because sport for us is that special unifier. Our heroes in sport, even the ones from 1995, are still being celebrated even today. So the World Cup itself will live in every South African's memory.
There's a word that I'd like to bring up now, which is legacy. Listening to you just talk there, it was I remember with the especially the World Cup was but what's the legacy going to be? What are the legacy that they're going to be left with? And it's like it was a bit harsh, because I'm listening to you guys now. And I'm thinking that legacy continues. It's just immense. And again, I'm privileged that I know quite a lot of South Africans. But look at the sport that you're coming out. As I said before, I was in the interview with Carl, and basically he was saying about the how it all went with the rugby, but it's all to do with like that. You keep on pushing on. It's like the World Cup. You've got a World Cup team now that's playing this week, and they're probably got a massive chance of winning this thing. So when we talk about legacy, the kind of things that you've progressed from the World Cup, winning the World Cup in the rugby back into 1995.
1995.
Yeah, so winning that, your legacy is definitely going on, because all countries, look at what we've got in the Brexit back in the UK. All countries got their own problems, but you seem to fight against all yours, and you keep on pushing on, and you keep on producing athletes, sportsmen. It's incredible.
I think the sportsman is one of them, and I think we've got a few great celebrities. I stand to be corrected on the quote, but I think Nelson Mandela said, and correct me if I'm wrong, sport has the power to unify people. And I think that is what sport in South Africa did for us. From 1995 to 1996, the football, the local football, the national football team, Bafana Bafana, even that, a year after, it was camaraderie all around. So from a legacy point of view for South Africa, it's not just about the stadia and the infrastructure. It's about what it means for the development of sports for up-and-coming youngsters. And the aspiring youngsters that want to play sports, irrespective of the code, is what we've been able to create by hosting those tournaments in South Africa.
But look at what, in doing that, in putting that time and effort into those areas, a bit like what Qatar's doing now. And I can see the influence of what's happened back in South Africa to what they're doing here in Qatar, and it's quite very similar.
Yeah,
it's very similar, and they're trying to do the best. And I don't blame them. Do the best for everything. It's like the golf club. I keep on shouting about the golf club, but it's the new one in Education City. There will be world champions coming from Qatar now.
Sure,
it's just incredible, and the amount of and it's not just for they're not doing this just for nationals. They're doing it for everybody, and it's like and I'm really kind of I'm taken back by listening to you today, because you're pushing, and you are a fantastic example, really are.
Yeah, no, I think for us, again, living and working in Qatar is one thing. I think South Africa, and I talk for our community specifically, I think we're very proud to represent Qatar. And I think if we could have a dual flag on our chest, we would. I think just because Qatar and the Qatari people have been so good to us being here, and that's all walks of life. I think we've got Doc Louis, who works at Aspetar, one of the best doctors that you could find. And he's been able to treat global athletes, you know. So you find these people who are just doing amazing work, and it's nice to say, oh, but there's a South African in Qatar that can help you, and that really is a sense of pride from our perspective. So living and working in Qatar is definitely something to be proud of, and from a South African point of view, just to make sure you play your part as a South African first of all, and then obviously represent Qatar in the best way possible.
And what we've got a platform to be able to shout out. If somebody's coming here from South Africa, how do they get in? Just go to the embassy, and is there a contact there?
Look, I think the embassy would be your first point of call. It depends on what you're doing here. You were here with Wade. I think Wade was a bit surprised to see how many people were there to welcome him at the embassy.
And just tell who Wade is. It's like I know all South Africans are going to know.
Wade van Niekerk is gold Olympic medalist 2016. And again, just having him here, having people like Wade, Carl Brown, we've had Trevor Noah here for comedy. To have all these big people come to celebrities and sports celebrities come to Qatar to not just be with the South Africans, but to come and explore Qatar as a country means a lot to all of us, I think.
And they are. I was just taken back by him, because he was such a humble guy, and he was shy.
Very shy.
He was like, there was all these people in the embassy, and he
stood in the corner.
He was just standing back. It was like it was, but it was a good thing. And again, it's to see somebody like that, and to be at such a level. Then there's hope for everyone. There's some natural ability, but you have to work at it, right? And to see him and be so humble, it was really nice.
I think there's a lot of South African sports stars, and I speak again from a personal perspective. A lot of our athletes are very humble, to be honest with you. I've known John Smith, our previous rugby captain, very humble bloke. And this morning I was blown away. If you ever ask me who would you compare to John Smith, I'd say Carl Brown. His humbleness, his professionalism. Just in the short time that we've been together, the same as Wade, all of them very, very humble people and celebrities in their own rights. And
it's one that I keep on repeating, but all the guests that I get coming on are special. They are, and what do I mean by that? Because it's like you've got to say that, Steve. You've got to say it, but I don't have to say it. I don't have to bring those things up, but they are special. And you know what? It's through the love of sport. It's through the love of sport. It's through the passion of the country. It's trying to leave a legacy that you see in these people.
Correct.
You know, and this is so inspiring. And I suppose this was all about why the podcast was there, because
well done.
it was kind of it's like getting people like you on the show. Carl was a great one to come on the show, but there's also other ones too, and it would be unfair for me to say, but they've all got that. I keep on saying this, the little bit of sparkle dust,
Sure.
and they want to help others, and they want to find to help others, and they're inspirations, and you're exactly the same.
Yes.
I'm really glad. I hope you really do enjoy Qatar.
Actually, from our side as Brand South Africa, what we've recognized as one of the most important competitive and important brand pillars is our people. We have this thing that we say everything is around the spirit of Ubuntu, which is humanity.
Okay.
And our sportsmen, our athletes, our business people, that's what usually they actually portray out there.
Yeah.
So that's South Africa for you. Humility. We are about humility.
No, it's really good. It is really good.
But again, I think from our perspective, thanks to the Ginger Camel, probably one of the most original names I've come across ever. It's got an international local flair to it. So Ginger Camel, I hope there's you guys are doing great work, and I hope more people can use your platform to be engaged, not just to listen, but to be engaged. And obviously, outside these four walls, there's opportunities for everybody in the sporting industry.
Yeah, and I think, and I'll be talking to you, and I'm sure I'm trying to make sure I get a meeting with you, because there are so many different opportunities, and there are opportunities and people like yourself are wanting to share those with others. And I know the work you do, it's incredible. Sure. But it's kind of before going back to Ginger Camel, I don't want to give him too much of a praise, but I've known Stefan for nearly 7-8 years now. And this guy is exactly the same. It doesn't matter, he's not a sportsman, but he is inspired by individuals. He wants to try to help push individuals. And he's got to a stage where his facilities here is probably one of the best film agencies in Qatar. So it really is down to him, and he's the driving force. And then we can get people like you on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Bradley, thank you so much for engaging and coming on. I know you're very busy. And Jimmy, I hope you have a wonderful time here in Qatar. And please, honestly, I'll share my details with you. Anything that we can do to help you, we're there for you. Yeah.
No, thank you for having us.
Everyone, thank you so much. Everyone, thank you so much. I hope you saw today. What I hope you saw today was something really impressive. The things that we're not sports. We're not always sports people, but we do care. And we care about people that's making a difference. And you hear me talk about this all along, is making that difference. And sometimes those ripples of you making that small difference will have a major effects. So these two guys that came here today were our special guests. They're making that difference. And you can do it too. So for today, I hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for now. Bye.